Okay, so as you can see, it's been about 20 minutes since the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree trailer dropped. I think they did like a lead-up trailer like a half hour before. And I woke up about half an hour ago. So I thought it would maybe be fun to do like a... It's not a live reaction, obviously. I'm just recording this, but I thought it would be fun to record my live reactions to the trailer. I haven't seen anything yet. I've been very good at avoiding any of the spoilers. And yeah, I thought it would just be fun to do a little watch through, maybe discuss some things a bit. I'm also seeing up here, minor spoiler, 21st of June, that's very soon, so that's exciting. And also it does say here, in the land of shadow, Miquella awaits the return of his promised lord. Which is very exciting. I will preface this by saying that, like, I have watched and absorbed a lot of Elden Ring lore, like a lot of just Souls lore in general, because I do find it really interesting. But I'm by no means an expert, so apologies in advance if I get anything wrong. It's all just for fun. We're just speculating and having a good time, so yeah. With all that said, let's watch it, because I'm very curious. So I think my plan is, I'm gonna start by just doing a watch all the way through, no commentary, or maybe very, very minor commentary, just to sort of absorb it. And then once we've done that, we can go back through in a bit more detail. I'm recognizing it's gonna be kind of annoying with this 32 minutes, but we will make do. So let me just make sure that that definitely works. Yes, it does. Okay, awesome. Right. Up to about there. I don't want to hop too far ahead. Come on. Alright, here we go.
Peggy 16.
Pure and radiant, he wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying.
Ooh. Wow.
In that forsaken place, blood must spill. Blood of your fellows. The Erdtree faithful.
They were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Miquella is doing here.
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Vesma's flame.
Come now. Touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again.
Wow. Okay then. Yeah, okay. Oh, we got a little bit more. Wow. So 21st of June, that's like 4 months away. Oh my gosh. Okay, so one thing I completely forgot to mention before starting this. It's very common knowledge that with FromSoft's games, the DLCs tend to sort of be the like highest of the highs for all of them. I think Bloodborne's the one that comes to mind always. I think it's called the Old Hunters DLC. I have played Bloodborne, but I haven't played the DLC. I'm sorry Bloodborne fans. I'll probably do it eventually. But the point being, these DLCs tend to sort of be the crown achievements of these games. So people have very high expectations for this, and from what I've seen so far, I think it's meeting them, because that was crazy. So there's obviously a lot to talk about. Let's just start by going all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to lower the volume just a little bit, and we're just going to kind of hop through.
Peggy 16.
Okay, so we open on this shot, which... So this is obviously, it's Mogwin Palace, right? I'm not sure who this figure is, though. I thought at first that it might have been Melina, because the dress looked kind of familiar. But considering who's speaking, I'm less certain.
He wields love to shrive clean.
And we have this line, pure and radiant, he wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. I think this is very explicitly talking about Mikla, who, based on the description of the video, the teaser trailer, the teaser image that they showed, and just some of the threads from the original game, it seems very clear that Mikla is at the heart of this expansion. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that's referring to Mikla.
In the hearts of men.
And here's our boy, Mikla himself. So one thing I should mention, I believe near the end, there was a character that said, touch the withered arm to enter the realm of shadow, or something like that. Which is, I think, just video game terms for, we're going to interact with this to begin the DLC, which I think most people were anticipating anyway.
There is nothing more terrifying.
Interesting. Why? Why is there nothing more terrifying than sweet, kind Mikla? Okay, so this is our first shot of the new area, which, by the way, looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, oh my gosh. You'll notice a lot of these like spirit grave looking things. We saw a lot of these in that teaser image that they showed of Mikla on top of Torrent. I believe that's what it was. We'll see a little bit more of it in a sec. Obviously, we've got our boy the Tarnished here. Yeah, this shot especially. Like, this is very much the sort of thing we were seeing. I just want to like go back on this shot a bit. This is where it's going to get really awkward. So what are we seeing here? Can't quite tell what's going on over here. It just kind of looks like some roots coming out of the side here. There's some structure up here that I can't quite see. And we've got some like ruined buildings. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, this is where we get a big, like, full shot of the area. So this is, like, gorgeous. I love these, like, drapes. Like, these drape-looking things that are coming up from the sky over the, like, the shadow. I guess this is the shadow of the Erdtree. I don't know. So I think people have been speculating about what this is meant to be. My guess, based on this being revolving around Mikla, is that this has to be the Halig tree, right? Or, like, some echo of the Halig tree, because it's obviously like it's in a state of disarray. I think we can gather that much. The name Shadow of the Erdtree, I would say implies that it's not the Erdtree, but it's something that's living in the Erdtree's shadow, and I think the Halig tree is probably a pretty good description of that. Oh, sorry, that's a good description of the Halig tree. Yeah, so we can see a lot here already. There's like some really nice greenery over here, which is like noticeably different from a lot of the environments here, which makes me think that this is going to be quite a big map with maybe a couple regions. That was one thing I was very curious about for this DLC, is how big they were going to go, because obviously Elden Ring expanded the more like densely designed Dark Souls formula, where it's these very dense areas that you move through. And it's not quite linear, but it's a lot more linear. Whereas Elden Ring is like full-blown open world with like massive sprawling environments and loads of things to do in each of them. So I was very curious as to like, if you're going to make a DLC for this game, you probably want more of that. But how much? Because obviously that's a lot to ask for, and Elden Ring was already a massive game. But it looks like we're going to be seeing quite a lot. This looks like it could maybe be like a major dungeon or something like that. This looks important. We've got some structures up here, obviously. This seems like our like final destination, maybe. Yeah, this just looks gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, we get a better look at the tree here as well. I'm actually going to go back to that. If I can. There we go. Yeah, so this is interesting. I'm not convinced that this is meant to be the Erdtree. I imagine a lot of people will probably agree. I am very curious about this though, right? So this, like, orange-yellow sort of, it almost looks like sap in the middle of the tree. Very much reminds me of the Flame of Frenzy, which they did talk about like flame later on in the trailer, so maybe there's something to that. I'm not quite sure. Also, if you hear me pause at any point, I'm just sipping my coffee, so I apologize. I'm probably not gonna edit this like super massively. I might put in a few things, we'll see. But I'm mostly just going off the cuff. Okay, so we get this shot. So this is interesting. I'm not sure what this is meant to represent. This might be an existing symbol in the game that I'm just not recognizing. My immediate thought was maybe this could be like Miquella's Great Rune, what Miquella's Great Rune looks like, but I'm not sure about that. So yeah, I'm not super convinced on that. This figure, however, I'm curious about. Have we seen anything like that before? Go back. Have we seen any figure like this before? Also, the fact that it's like nighttime and foggy here, I assume it means that day-night cycle is going to be here as well, which, you know, you could have guessed, but it's good to know that it's actually going to be there, I think. It seems also like we're a lot closer to the center of the map in this shot. I think this might be the tree, based on the fact that we see this coming up here. Not convinced on that. We're obviously seeing more of the graves and stuff around here, so it seems like we're still in maybe that first region, but just like a little bit further up. Let me get this shot, which is just, oh, wow. I love the sky. Really crazy looking. So yeah, we have this figure, which is giving very big like gladiator vibes. And we see, I think we see a bit later a lot of other characters with this sort of mask design. Just based on like the pose of this character and their getup, I would assume that maybe they're important. So maybe we're looking at a minor NPC here. Either that or it's like a major enemy. It's a little tough to say.
In that forsaken place.
In that forsaken place, blood must spill. So I guess we're referring to this whole region. And blood must spill, implying that something needs to be done, or something needs to change. We've got someone who looks like... Hold on. Yeah, this shot is something else. I don't know if they're crafting pots necessarily, but certainly interesting. Just in general, we're seeing a lot more of that like Greek Roman architectural inspirations, I feel, with these pillars especially, and like just a lot of the small details. This armor is quite interesting looking. Yeah. Then we have this shot, which is like, wow. I love the purple, it's great. yeah, so we're seeing another sort of this mask again, which I think is fairly similar to the one we saw on this guy. Yeah.
Forsaken place.
Yeah, I think they're quite similar. So maybe suggesting that we've got like a group of people going on here. Unless I'm forgetting something, obviously, from the first game. But this is like a beautiful shot. So it looks like we've got a lady, perhaps, who's lying on the ground in a purplish swamp. Very curious about this one. Actually, I might be mistaken, but these look like St. Trina's lilies. Back here. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. But that would be a very interesting tie back to Mikola. So, I mean, and also based on the fact that this character is lying on the ground, I feel like this character must be important as well, surely. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that this is like Mikola as Saint Trina or something like that, but I'm definitely curious. Then we have this shot, which is just wow. Oh man. We see this figure, I think, a little bit more later. This is a super cool looking area. I would guess maybe this is like the throne reminds me of the one in Stormvale, except obviously it's a lot smaller. Actually, it also reminds me of the ones in Lanedale, maybe. But this is a super cool looking shot. I don't know what it reminds me of, but it just screams like it's very Dark Souls. Obviously. That's nothing new. It's also sort of giving me Bloodborne a little bit. I'm curious about this as well. Yeah, okay, so we immediately cut to this one. So, the blood of your fellows. What was the last line we said before this? In that forsaken place, blood must spill. Right. The blood of your fellows. And then we cut to this. Okay. The Erdtree faithful. So, in that forsaken place, blood must spill. The blood of your fellows, the Erdtree faithful. Interesting. I'm not sure who the speaker is here. I'm not sure if we can correlate this voice to a voice actor from the original game. And if that even means anything, because obviously voice actors can act for multiple characters. But this is reading to me like we're going against the Erdtree. In that forsaken place, blood must spill, the blood of your fellows, the Erdtree faithful. So, the Erdtree faithful must be killed, question mark? That's how that's reading to me. Which would suggest that we're going against the Erdtree. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this shot. So this is gorgeous. We're looking at, I think, another sort of swampy area. I saw these guys at the bottom, and I thought at first that maybe it was like the hand monsters, because I think they sort of like lie in wait in a similar way. They have like their fingers sort of poking out of the ground, and then they jump out. But looking at them closer, they almost remind me of the weird little like rock snake golem things that you sometimes see around Everjails. Just based on like the little glowing part at the end of their face. So that's interesting. Let me just go back to this a bit more. Yeah, so we have this really beautiful shot of like a swamp with all of these like trees coming out here. It reminds me of the I forget what the name of, was it Mibu Village? Yeah, the Mibu Village area from Sekiro. It's giving me very similar vibes to that. This looks absolutely gorgeous. And obviously we have this building here, which I'm going to assume is pretty large based on the fact that the walls go out this far. And probably is related to this, which we cut to. So this is interesting. I don't know if these are characters that we know. The cape here almost reminds me of like Morgoth's, maybe. But I think I'm just trying to look for a connection where maybe there isn't one. I'd have to compare the designs. This is also hanging, is this hanging on Erdtree Faithful?
In that blood of your fellows.
Yeah. So just based on, cinematic framing and stuff, I would imagine it's a pretty good guess to say that these are our Erdtree faithful, perhaps. But we've got two significant characters here, I would guess. We've got this lady and this old man. Maybe they're family, maybe she's like an attendant to him, who knows, but they seem important. Then we get this shot, which looks to be underground, perhaps? Or maybe in like a tower? It's hard to say. But yeah, we have all of these hanging jars. I'm assuming these are actual jar people, but it's probably tough to say. I wonder if... So we have been seeing a lot of jars, right? We saw the guy earlier on that was like handling one of them. It wasn't clear what he was doing with it, or if he was like making it or whatever, but I wonder if in this DLC we will learn more about the origins of the jar folk. Because obviously we know like roughly what they are. Like it's the stuffed, like the jars were stuffed with the remains of like corpses and whatnot, and then eventually those somehow sprouted life in their own way. I think that's like the gist of what we understand about them. So there's definitely room to expand on that a lot more, and perhaps this is what we're seeing here, maybe? Potentially. Then we get this, which at first read to me like the heroes' graves, based on the lava and like the tight corridor. But on further inspection, I'm not actually sure, because like the walls, I mean, I'd have to compare it more directly, but the walls do look sort of similar. But then we have this, which looks like a sort of, I'm not sure how to describe this. It looks like some sort of like smithing equipment or like manufacturing equipment. Just based on like the grates, and these are being sustained with chains and stuff. It looks like some sort of pipe. Very interesting. And then we get this shot. Oh gosh, okay. So this is reading as like, well, okay, let's see. We'll talk about the dialogue in a second, but so we can see some of that like green area on the right here. Based on the fact that the tree is also on the right here, I would assume this is on the far left of the map from like that main area that we saw originally. We're also seeing it sort of covered by the cliffs here. So yeah, I would assume maybe there are two ways to get here. Maybe you can go through this sort of green area to get here, or you can go through like the caves on the cliffs or whatever to get to this main entrance. Or perhaps maybe this is how we get to this area up here. We have to go through this. But this is very explicitly reading like a legacy dungeon. You could probably equate this to like Stormvale. But it's very curious because obviously we have like your sort of run-of-the-mill castle-looking stuff. These pillars also worth mentioning. It's that same sort of spiral pattern that we were seeing earlier. So it's possible. Oh, well, I think we might actually be able to see him down here. That character that we saw in front of the pillars. See if I can find that shot.
In that forsaken place.
Yeah, this guy right here. I think this character we're seeing right here, because you can see the pillar that's like right next to him, and then you can see further back additional stuff. I think you can just about see him there. There's probably a grace there as well. But he's stood right in front of this place. And he's the guy with the jar, which might suggest that this is maybe the same place where we saw all of the jars being hung up. We've got like a sort of tower structure here, so maybe that's related. But obviously the super interesting thing about this is we've got like, it seems like the rubble is being lifted into the air. You see more of it here. Is it moving actively? No, it's sort of suspended. Let me go back a bit. So it's a bit like the meteor stuff, or like Fire Missoula, where it's just sort of suspended in the air, which is interesting. But we're also seeing these like black roots Deathroot question mark, perhaps? I don't know. But to speculate on what this is, because obviously something's going on here, I'm reading it as like the top of this structure has been sort of eaten away by maybe these Deathroots or whatever. But the fact that the rubble is sort of rising into the air makes me wonder if this tree in the center is like sapping the life out of the area around it. Because you've got these like veils that are coming up and all sort of enshrouding the tree in the center. And it almost reads to me like those are sort of like the flow of energy. And we're sort of seeing this place being like sapped of its energy and it's going towards the tree. The significance of that I don't really know, but that's just sort of how it reads to me visually. But yeah, so we got that line there that says they were never saints. This is referring to the Erdtree faithful. We kind of gathered that already from the base game, I think, you know? Also, I think it's, let me double check, I think it's a different character saying this.
They were never saints.
Yeah, so it's a lady saying that this time. So maybe this is a different line from a different context being used to further this existing point that's been pushed so far by the first character in this trailer. But, I mean, this reads to me as like, there is a character that is talking to us and trying to justify the decision to hunt down these Erdtree faithful, or whatever, by saying, like, you know, they were never saints, so it's not like this is a horrible deed. Then we get this guy. They just happen to be on the losing side of a war. That's an interesting line. That's a very interesting line. We'll maybe think about that more in a sec. But we see this guy, right? So this guy, whereabouts are we here? It seems like we're still in one of like the early areas. But we've got like this massive, I mean, it read at first like fire giant, but it's obviously not a giant. We have like, let's go back a little bit. No VOD just yet. We've got like, so this center thing reads to me like it's a bundle of like a bonfire or whatever. It's been set alight. Going down to the arms here, but you can see like, I don't know if these are like charred corpses. You can see them here as well. Sort of decorating the wrists and the waist. No more VOD, please. Not yet. We'll get to that in a sec. I just want to see this thing move a little bit.
They were never saints.
I might let me slow the footage down a little bit.
They just happened to be on
So this looks like tree root to me.
the side of a wall.
So I'm wondering what this could be. My immediate thought is that like maybe this is some sort of like Deathroot creation. Like maybe this is like a bundle of like different people that were like afflicted with I forget what the actual curse is called in the game, but like the Deathroot curse or whatever. And maybe they were like bundled together and like attempted to burn here, but through some means they sort of manifested their own form of life because I guess they're undying or whatever. And this created this monstrosity, which again has that weird like face design. It's also sort of giving me Medusa a little bit, and Black Doom, if anyone knows what that is. But yeah, so we're seeing like I'm guessing this is like an overworld boss based on the fact that we're still out in like the plains of the first area. We're also seeing, I think that looks like a figure up there. It's reading like Erdtree Sentinel, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so this is like maybe not actually, it's not really moving. This is an overworld fight, which will be interesting. I do like the idea of pursuing these like big open fights some more. And getting to fight it on torrent will be a huge up. because I think that was one of the big issues I had with some of the big fights in the original game, particularly like the final boss in particular. Like, I think they could have been elevated so much by just letting you use Torrent. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like having these fights on such a larger scale where they're moving around loads and doing big attacks and stuff, I think it would have been really cool to sort of lean more into using Torrent and like weaving around with the horse. Because I feel like there's a lot of room to do some really interesting stuff there. And it seems like maybe they're playing around with that a little bit here, so maybe we'll see more of that. They also had, we're not getting to the Vor quite yet, there was another line that I missed. Why aren't the subtitles showing? Subtitles. Where are the subtitles? Where have they gone? Reset. There we go. I think I must have just moved them off accidentally or something. Still not saying them. Awesome. So she says they just happened to be on the losing side of the war. So they were never saints, they just happened to be on the losing side of a war. Is this still talking about the Erdtree faithful? I'm not sure. Because this whole thing, I mean, it's obviously not going to be separated from the Erdtree, but it feels like this is their own, this is like a separated world of people doing their own thing. But just analysing that on its own, they were never saints, they just happened to be on the losing side of the war, reads to me as we have a group of people that are let's say morally ambiguous, and that ambiguity is accentuated by the fact that they lost a war and presumably did some dark deeds as a result of that, maybe out of desperation or spite or whatever. So we've got some malicious folk that are in a sort of morally grey area, maybe. Not sure if that's referring to the Erdtree faithful. I feel like maybe it isn't, but some more lore-rich individuals can probably figure that out. Okay, so let's talk about the Vor. So I don't even know what to say about this thing. So it's like the immediate thought I had is that like the worm faces. Oh wait, oh I pressed the wrong button. We're not talking about that thing just yet. Yeah, so we've, oh this is gross. So it's some sort of like weird snake thing, but you can see the like remnants of a rib cage here, and you've obviously got the shoulders and arms, and it's got very skeletal shape. So this was presumably a human at one point. Yippee. But yeah, this reminds me a little bit of the worm faces, just in how it's attacking. I'm trying to see if there's anything at the back here. It's got sort of like, I don't know what you would call these. It's like the little like fins that you see on like the top of like aquatic creatures, or even like dragons or something. But the aquatic stuff leans way more into like the idea of this being like a death root monster or something like that, because as I think a lot of people have explored in theories and whatnot, there's a very strong connection between death and water in this game. You can see it in Godwin's design after he gets shioinked. And also just like generally in the way that the death root manifests, and in Japanese folklore and culture, the concept of water and stagnation, they're very intrinsically linked. So seeing sort of aquatic creature imagery on this thing would suggest to me that maybe this is some sort of death-blighted monster. And it's clearly very hungry. Also, interestingly, we have the moon in the background here. And I'm not sure in the original game if there was ever a regular moon, or if it was always like Rani or Renala's moon. I would assume there was probably a moon originally, but I do think it's interesting that we're seeing a moon here. Obviously, it's nighttime, so yeah, you would expect to see a moon. but I think it's interesting that it's here. I don't know if that'll have any significance, but it's worth mentioning at least. Yeah, so this guy does some... I just want to see right at the end, because we sort of... the camera shifts. I want to see if we can see anything else of that guy. It doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it's just some sort of weird, like, eel monster, I would have to guess. But okay, let's move on to this guy. So we have... oh, I didn't notice this originally. So we've got what looks like... so we have a beast here, right? Very clearly. Based on the fact that it's got teeth and then human teeth on the inside, I would maybe think this is like a beast man. But what I didn't notice the first time is that we have a hand here that comes up and like pushes its jaw closed. And then feet emerge, obviously. And we have this guy. So my immediate thought with this is that like, we've got Beastman back. That's very interesting. Based on the like very rough ties I had to Fire Missoula in that like first shot we got of the Legacy Dungeon, this is definitely very interesting. We have more of the same imagery here of like these sort of wooden, I don't know if these are actually wooden, but like these like tendril shapes that are coming out. We have some like root designs here, and like a crown of like more of the same like horns and stuff. But immediately when I saw this, I was thinking of Sarosh, which is it Sarosh? I think it's Sarosh. The like lion, I forget what the term is, but like the beast companion of Godfrey. Because I think just sort of the design is reminiscent. We do have these like glowing green eyes though, which are quite interesting. Based on just like the texturing of them, they almost look bug-like, which is very interesting. Yeah, the like two sets of teeth is very weird. Yeah, so we get to see a little bit more of this guy in action. I'm actually gonna just look a little bit more at the environment. So this obviously does look like a major boss. This looks maybe like a courtyard or something, if I had to guess. Got interesting patterns on the floor here. I'm not sure if I could pinpoint where this is, but the structure of, not the structure, the anatomy of this creature is kind of hard to tell because it's draped in all sorts of like clothing and stuff. I'm seeing what maybe look like legs here and more here. Is it like pouncing? But you can see, even whilst it's doing that, there's still a hand here that's like holding its jaw shut, which implies that its jaw is just like permanently hanging low. So it has to be like held closed. So this is clearly some sort of abomination, which is very par for the course, obviously. But what I can't tell is if this is like some weird human beast hybrid thing, or if this is quite literally like a beast, or a beast man or something of that caliber, with a human that is attempting to control it, or like work alongside it or something. It's very unclear. But based on like all of the robes and the armor and stuff, I would assume this creature is of importance. I don't know the nature of that importance, but I do think it's very interesting that we're seeing more beasts, because I was of the impression that Fire Missoula and everything relating to that was going to be a whole other thing and just kept separate. But I find it interesting that they're bringing it in here. Also, this attack is very cool looking, where it just sort of jumps down. Oh, we get to see more of it here. That looks like Death Blight, if I had to say. Obviously, it's very hard to see what's going on here. But yeah, Death Blight, again, very important. I'm actually... let me slow this footage down. That might be a better way to do this. Lovely foot shot. We love to see it. Apologies, I know the audio is kind of horrific. Yeah, this thing definitely has like human legs that it's working on. You can see more of like the shaping here. These look like legs. Oh! I think I see what's going on. It's like the whole, like 3 gnomes in a robe to like emulate a human. You can see here that there's, so we have hands down here and like a crouched figure, and you can see legs that are standing on the back of that creature. And you can sort of see more of it down here. So this is some sort of amalgamation of people or creatures or something. That is working alongside, I guess, this like head. I don't know if there's a full beast in here or if it's sort of like a Godric situation where it's like grafted on. This is a very curious design. Yeah, we get to see more of it here. It's using lightning, which is very curious. Obviously lightning is very strongly associated with the dragons. I don't know if, I mean red lightning especially is like the ancient dragons, but I don't know if like regular lightning has any association or if it's just more of a generic sort of magic skill. But to me this reads as like even stronger tying to the beastman. This looks like a ribcage here, which would further suggest that this is a deceased creature. We get to see a bit more of it here. Yeah, very interesting. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that guy. But okay.
Mother.
I want to fix these subtitles. Where have they gone? Why are they being so strange?
Wouldst thou truly
Apologies for this. I don't actually know what's going on. We turn them off. Put them back on English. That's not the right one. Go to options, go to reset. Should be fixed. Let me hop back a little bit. Just let it catch up. Yeah, I'm so curious about this thing. I'm very, very curious.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction?
Yeah, so I don't know why they're not working, but I think he says mother, well, we'll turn the audio up a little bit, but I'm fairly certain he says, mother, would thou truly lordship sanction? Say that again.
Wouldst thou truly Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the subtitles aren't working, but you can go back and, if you want to compare to make sure if I have anything wrong. The original watch through I did of this had all the subtitles fine, so just feel free to look at them now. But yeah, so we have this character. Very interesting. This seems like a major character for sure. I think we might have gotten his name later in the trailer. So we have this figure covered in snakes, which is definitely significant. Or is it covered in snakes, or is it just one? I think it might just be one really long snake. Yeah, I think it's just one snake. We have this thing here. This is his like main weapon, which is like some sort of, it's not quite a sword. It's sort of more like a polearm. And he's using this. Oh, let me listen to the dialogue.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
In one so bereft of light. Would thou truly lordship sanction in one truly bereft of light? There's a lot of big words in there that aren't working for my brain, and it's a little tougher without the subtitles, so I'll let you decide what that means. But this guy's very interesting. So I think what we're seeing here, these eyes, those are dragon eyes, right? We have, let me go back a little bit because I think it's starting to fade to black. So the fire is really interesting. This doesn't look like anything I recall seeing before. Like, it doesn't look like any of the other flames, like the Flame of Frenzy or anything like that. So maybe this is its own thing. But the fact that it comes from like a blackness suggests that it's maybe related to death. But yeah, so we're seeing like these scales here, a lot of scale patterns. We've got this like wing, another wing here. Lots of dragon imagery, more like a, is that a dragon or a snake? I can't quite tell. It almost reminds me of the Ouroboros, is that the name, I think? The like, or like the world-eating serpent. It's going around in a loop, but instead of being just a circle, it's like an infinity symbol, maybe. But the interesting thing here is the red hair, which is very curious, because obviously red hair is very strongly associated with Radagon. But we're seeing this character here with red hair, which is very curious. My immediate thought was like, is this Mikola? But I don't think that would make any sense. And I'm fairly certain Mikola's meant to be blonde, but I don't know if that's ever been. Actually, yeah, we see Mikola, I think, in the promotional image with very clear blonde hair. So I would guess this probably isn't meant to be Mikola, but maybe this is some like dark reflection of him or something, or we've got another like split personality thing going on. Well, not split personality, like two people in one host, similar to why am I blanking on Marika and Radagon? So many names, and so many of them are like just like slight variations on the same name. But yeah, this guy is very clearly a prominent character.
Bereft of light.
And then we sort of go through a little montage of showing off some weapons, fighting some big guys. I rewound a little too far back. Whoops.
One so bereft of light.
Yeah, so we're seeing like a dual blade fighting style. I don't recognize these guys, but again, that's a really cool move. We're seeing more of like the horns. Also, I'll bring the volume back down now. This is very cool looking. Looks like some sort of. It's either like a village or it's maybe the inside of the first dungeon's walls. We're seeing spirit creatures, or spirit creatures, like just spirits. The cleavers. This shot's really cool. So interestingly here we have these statues which are very reminiscent of the boss that we saw with the lion head, which makes me wonder if this figure is like a revered sort or something like that. What I find interesting is that these are guarding a main statue in the center, which looks like maybe a tree or something like that, which might suggest that, like we've seen with other beasts in this game, this lion character is like the protector or like shadow of this tree, which would mean that they're probably like a high ranking figure or like a very important and prominent figure, which makes it interesting that we see it seemingly dead here and being used by these figures. So that's very interesting. Also, music is banger, as always. I think I don't really need to mention that, but yeah. I don't recognize this spell, but I'm also not super familiar with the spells in Elden Ring, so take that how you will. Although it does sort of vaguely remind me of the same like purplish swamp area that we saw earlier. So maybe this is like a new type of, I forget which is which. I think this is incantations, because it's a seal that's being used and not like a staff. Might be horribly wrong on that. And it seems to attack all of these guys. Then we have this, which is just incredible. So we've got like a martial arts fighting style. Also, this armor set looks really cool. Yeah, so he's doing like I don't know what you would call this. Is that like an axe kick or something? Yeah, so he swings around with one side and then like hits with the other. And then comes around again. That's so cool. Yeah, so we're seeing sort of like kind of generic-y looking enemies here, but interestingly they're using a twin blade, which I don't think we saw a lot of on enemies. yeah, maybe you could analyze the armor set a little bit. There's an interesting like shape here, like a round shape. I'm not sure if that has any significance. We're also seeing some symbols on the banners back here, interestingly, which might, I mean, it's a round symbol, so maybe that's the same thing being depicted here. Not sure. Then we see this shot, which I don't think we can really pinpoint this. It seems fairly early on again. Is this? I think this is the player throwing a flaming pot, but like a massive one, and it just explodes these guys. I'm curious about one of the shields that these guys have, because shields often have like crests and stuff depicted on them. Let's see. What does this remind me of? Oh, it's a sun, right? Surely. Or like maybe like a compass or something. Interesting iconography. I don't know if that relates back to the symbol we saw earlier. I don't think it does. I think the one on the like the banners and stuff was a little different. But that's definitely interesting. Particularly when you consider like the fact that Mikola was doing stuff with, I think, like an eclipse, or with the something like that when he was trying to do something for Godwin. Maybe. That I'm not super familiar with those events, but maybe there's a connection there. Well, okay, we'll listen to the dialogue first and then I'll go over the footage.
I presume you too are keen to know.
Presume you two are keen to know. Okay, we'll catch up on that in a sec. So we have a crossbow here,
I presume you.
which is interesting. I think there were crossbows in base game. I didn't really use any of the ranged weapons, but this armor set is also very cool looking. I don't think we've seen anything like that. It's also firing like a magic spell, it seems. It's like rapid fire as well, which is pretty cool. Another beast. Oh, and interestingly we have legs again. So maybe there's a common practice going on here of people utilizing... This looks like a bear. Wow, this is very cool looking. I don't think I can relate this to anything we've seen so far. But yeah, this is super cool looking, like the blue design. And we've got the samurai class fighting this like water swordsman. That fighting style is very curious. Okay, I want to hear what the dialogue says. I presume you're keen to know.
Just what kind Mikola is doing here.
Just what kind Mikola is doing here. And yeah, we most certainly are very curious to know. Because like one thing I'm not really... What I haven't really figured out yet is this place like a tangible place? Or is this all like a construct within the mind of Mikola? Like a dream or whatever? Because based on how we enter it, by interacting with Mikola, I would think that this is like a realm within Mikola. But if Mikola is here, then I don't know. I'm not super sold on that. Also, interestingly, we're seeing a lot of these like structures back here that seem to be like fragments of something. In Elden Ring, a lot of those you could equate back to Farum Azula. But it's curious, like these don't seem reminiscent of Farum Azula, which I think makes sense because it doesn't seem like we're in the lands between here. But I'd be curious as to what they are sort of connected to. Very quick look at some of the stuff back there. Yeah, it's just like more rubble and stuff. These blue flowers are really cool. Then we have this thing, which is like some sort of like ball. And we have a figure at the back with a sword. Well, not, yeah, it's kind of a sword. It's like a weirdly shaped sword. It's more like a spear. This seems like an Erdtree Sentinel type figure. I want to go back to that because it's weird. So we're not, maybe I'm just not reading this properly, but we're not seeing like a degree of separation between the rider and the creature here. This is something that's being echoed in some of the other shots. It seems like these two are one and the same. Maybe this is just an angle where it's harder to tell, but yeah, I think that's really curious. I think we're also pretty close to the tree here based on this back here. Then we have this shot of what looks like a hippo almost, with like broken teeth, big horn at the front. And then it is this, which is really cool. I don't know what that's meant to represent though. Go back a little bit. It's like thorns. It's almost like the spines of a hedgehog or something. Very curious. So we're seeing a lot of like weird beast amalgamations, which is an interesting point to like focus on. I guess Mikla did have some connections to that because like the whole idea of the Erdtree was that it was like a safe haven for like the like outcasted races in the lands between, like the Arbanorics, the Misbegottens, the Beastmen, everyone that was sort of ostracized by the main faction. So it's interesting that we're seeing a lot of them here. More sort of connections to the Erdtree maybe, but they seem to be like weird amalgamations instead of just like their original forms. So that's definitely quite curious. Then we have this. This looks like a near enemy with like the little robot face. But yeah, so we've got some sort of like bone creature riding what looks like it's like a horse that's coming out of sludge. And there's also sludge all up in this guy as well. So probably more connections to death. We're in like an area of water as well, which also looks like it might be underground. So yeah, just sort of feathering that that connection to death. The boomerang weapon is quite interesting. Let me get this shot. I'll listen to the dialogue first.
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death.
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death. That reminds me of the character that hunts down the death people. I forget his name. The one who's connected to like Fia's quest. I'm not sure if it's the same voice actor or something else, but yeah, there's definitely a connection there. So this is very interesting. So we've got like, obviously it's a little bit gruesome, so I apologize for that. We've got, I think this, oh, I know who this is. This is the guy we saw in the painting. This guy right here. You can see the cloak is the same. We're seeing, I guess, what became of this guy. Interesting. So he seems to have some sort of... I hesitate to call it a weapon because it seems a lot more organic. It's like a crystal structure that's sort of fracturing out here. He seems very like withered because he's like missing his entire chest. And he seems to be pulling this out of him. Although it seems to be taking his head with it. Yeah, lovely. We see this guy in action. This looks like a very like important arena. Curious about that statue in the back. Oh, he says something else at the end here. In the embrace of, I think it's Mesmer's flames? Which I'm assuming is this guy, right? So this guy's hunting down those who are associated with death. Which might explain why he's here in Mikla's area, because I think Mikla was sort of helping. Helping's not really the right word; it's a lot more nuanced. But he was strongly tied with Godwin, so it makes sense that he would be strongly tied to those afflicted with like the death blight curse or whatever. Yeah, so we're seeing some attacks in action here. We've got like the spear attack. This is probably going to be one of the big bosses, I would guess. I wanted to see if I could see more of the statue in the back. I'm very curious about this character because like the dragon and snake imageries. Snake could be associated with like blasphemy. Rykard, you know. But I think snakes are also like strongly associated in most mythologies with like tricksters or like sin, stuff like that. Yeah, we can't really quite see the statue in the back. There is definitely something in the back there that I'm curious about. Yeah. So we have a new... Oh, also this is interesting. It's like a shield. It's like a shield that doubles as a weapon. Is sort of what I'm reading there. Also, we have like a sigil on the floor here. I just want to see that weapon a little bit more. Come on. A little bit more. Yeah, that's a cool concept. I'm curious if it is going to double like a weapon and a as a shield and a like a twin blade sort of thing at the same time. That seems quite fun. Okay, let's listen to the dialogue and then we'll go over the footage. So this was something I saw. I couldn't really track down why it was being brought up, but I think someone brought up the voice actor of Melania. Now I'd have to check myself and like actually verify if this is the same voice actor, but I think this might be Melania's voice actor talking, which might suggest that this is Melania talking, considering we're, you know, looking at this whole DLC being revolved around Miquella, or at least like strongly involving Miquella to some degree. So I don't know if this is actually Melania talking, but let's listen.
Come now, touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow.
Come now, touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. So that was what I was saying near the beginning of this analysis section. That's touch the withered arm. That's interacting with the weird egg thing in Mogwin Palace to get here, I guess. To enter the realm of shadow. So that's how they're describing this place. A realm of shadow. Which is interesting. Because I don't really know what that implies. It sort of reads that this like whole world, or realm, I guess, is like a twisted reflection of the lands between, maybe. So it's not like a tangible place necessarily. I mean, I think the Souls series has flirted with these concepts of like dream realms and like realms within realms, where the sort of idea of physicality is more nuanced and not really specific. So I don't really want to rule this entire realm out as being like a dreamscape that's not to be considered in the same way that the Lands Between is. Like, for all we know, this could very well be its own place with like civilizations and people living lives and whatever. So it's definitely curious though. Realm of Shadow is an interesting way to describe it.
I will not be far behind.
I will not be far behind, which is very curious. So we have an assistant, it sounds like. Let me listen to the voice actor again.
Come now, touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind.
It almost sounds like Melina to me, which would track with the shot we saw near the beginning of if I can find it. Let's see. This person, who I assumed might be Melina, but I'm not 100% certain of that because I'd have to compare it with Melina's design. But that could be Melina, perhaps, which would suggest that she's accompanying us here, which would make sense. Having someone, because you know Melina's obviously the one who handles the grace and stuff like that. She has a connection to Torrent as well, which it seems Miquella also has a connection to, which is weird, based on the promotional image. So yeah, it seems like she's probably going to be with us here. That's just a guess. I don't know if that's actually what's being implied here, but yeah. Yeah, so we're seeing more of the fight here.
Come now.
Get this weapon. That's a cool attack. Yeah, I don't know what like element he's using here. It seems like death flame or something. It's curious. We have this, which is like, I think this might be a spell that's already in the game. It reminds me of the Crucible Knights when they like fly up into the air and do like a sweep attack. I think that might be what's happening there. May we meet again. I will not be far behind, and may we meet again.
Shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again.
That's an interesting line. That makes me less sure about it being Melina, because why would Melina say, may we meet again, when she's like, our maiden? That makes it sound like, may we meet again almost sounds more like, this is some, what's the word? Why am I blanking on the word? Not like a close companion, but just like someone who we've met like once or twice. We're not particularly close to them, which I don't think matches with Melina, who's like, she's with us for the whole journey. So I don't know. That line makes me less certain. And then yeah, we get the title drop here, Shadow of the Erdtree. Interestingly, the logo is worth talking about. So it's white with like these black cracks forming all over it, and then we have like this weird sort of like root or like some sort of like infectious design coming in here. This is actually a really cool design because it simultaneously makes me think of the death root and like that infection and all of that, but it also is reminiscent of the Ouroboros again. Like the dragon, is it dragon or snake? One of them. I think it might be snake eating itself. Which was seen on the armor, like the gauntlet of Mesmer, I think his name was, or their name was. So curious to see it again here in the main logo. That makes it feel a little more significant maybe. And I think there was one bit at the end here. Okay, so I completely missed this last time, I think, or I just didn't absorb it. But this is Miquella, I believe, very clearly. I guess maybe it's hard to say. It could be Godwyn, because I think Godwyn also has this sort of complexion. But based on what we've seen, I think this is most likely Miquella. And he's holding his hand out in extension to the tree. Which interesting has like white all across it. Maybe that's just like a reflection of the light, but that's very interesting. We're also seeing that rubble from before that I called out all over the tree here, which is almost implying that like I mentioned before, the tree is like absorbing the surrounding environment to sort of, maybe because the tree's dying, it's trying to like pull from the surrounding area and like the life force to sort of structure itself and maintain form, but it's ultimately just dying. It's hard to say. And then we get our title shot, which does also show a lot. So we have obviously Mesmer again as like the key figure of this one, which suggests he's going to be pretty important. I think that's pretty fair to say. He's also sitting in the same throne that we saw that other character in before. Let me see if I can find that shot. We do kind of linger on that for a little bit. There's clearly a cutscene that happens there, but we haven't really seen much of that character, which is curious. See if I can find it. I don't remember where exactly it was. Here, this character. Let's just look at this bit again.
Blood must spill.
Yeah. So this throne is like, I think it's a pretty solid match.
Blood of your fellow.
But who is this? Because I don't think it's our boy here. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's just hop back over to here. But yeah, the throne, or maybe actually no, it's not as close as a match as I thought. There was like more things poking out of the top here. But it's definitely some sort of throne, right? I think that's pretty safe to say. We get to see more stuff over here. We see more like fire, and I don't know if this is meant to imply that this is like lava, but More fiery stuff around here. Clearly a war has taken place. That was implied earlier by the comment about them being on the losing side of a war. So clearly some sort of conflict has gone down here, which is curious to think about, if this is like a realm in like Miquella's mind or something. There's going to be a lot of mystery to figure out there, I imagine. And we have the titular, well, I don't know if this is meant to be the Erdtree. I feel like it would make more sense to be the Halo tree, but we have the titular tree in the back there. Was there anything else at the end here? I don't think there was. No, we just have this shot here. In-game bonus gesture, Ring of Miquella. Huh. This is a small thing, but like, this is curious. I wonder if... Wait. So it's a circle with like a line on the right side. What do you know? I'm assuming this is maybe Miquella's Great Rune, if I had to guess. Or maybe it's something more. Maybe it's like Miquella's own version of the Elden Ring or something. We don't really know what Miquella's planning, but that's a nice little confirmation at the end there, I think. I love using the thief as well. The thief? No, it's the prisoner. But yeah, that looks to be the collector's edition, which is very cool looking. With an art book. Mesmer the Impaler, that's his name. Curious. Yeah, this is super cool. But yeah, that's like pretty much everything to say about the trailer, I think. Let me just hop back to here. I'll let it play very quietly whilst I'm ending off the video. But yeah, this is so cool. I'm extremely excited to see where this is gonna go. I love Elden Ring. I haven't played it as much as I should, to be honest. I have completed it. I played it on PS5 originally, and then I started it on Steam, but I haven't finished that playthrough yet, so I probably should. But I am beyond excited for this. I think this is going to be fantastic. There's definitely so much going on here. This is like quite a lot bigger than I was anticipating. I was sort of imagining it being like just one new open area with like maybe one dungeon or something, but it seems like we have like a whole new map going on here. I don't think it'll be quite as big as the base game, but it might get close. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I hope this was enjoyable to watch. I'm kind of just like riffing for about an hour or so. I don't really know if I said anything substantial, but there's definitely like so much cool stuff going on here. I guess I'll end this by saying, like, would you guys be interested in seeing me play this DLC? Because if you weren't aware, I do have I do stream on Twitch. I try to stream every weekend. It's usually not every weekend, but that is always the intention. We recently finished playing Okami HD, which was really fun. And yeah, I enjoy I tend to play a lot of games, and just like, I have a bunch of games in my backlog that I tend to play on stream, because I think that's a more fun way of doing it than just sort of playing on my own, because it means I get to sort of share my thoughts and opinions on them as I go. But if you guys would be interested in seeing me play this expansion, I would absolutely love to. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And if you don't have the opportunity to reach or to make it to the streams, I do also have a VOD channel called Moosey was Live, which I upload to pretty much always after every stream. It's usually like maybe 1 or 2 days after the stream goes live, the VOD goes up. So if you want to check that out, I have, I think maybe like 25, 26 episodes up there already from various games that I've played over the last like year or so that I started taking streaming a little bit more seriously. So obviously if we were to play this expansion, all of the VODs would go up there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. So thank you guys for hanging out. Okay, so I wasn't expecting to keep going, but I'm attaching this to the end here. I was just looking around at the official website for Elden Ring, trying to find material for thumbnails. And I noticed the website's been updated and they have some info here. So, fall from grace in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Venture forth tarnished into the land of shadow where Miquella awaits. And we get this little bit here of, let me just make the window a little bit larger. The land of shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree, where the goddess Marika first set foot. A land purged in an unsung battle, set ablaze by Mesmer's flame. It was to this land that Miquella departed, divesting himself of his flesh, his strength, his lineage, of all things golden. And now Miquella awaits the return of his promised lord. So that's pretty huge. That was like a big dump of information, which is kind of why I'm recording this at all. But this is interesting. So the Land of Shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree, where the goddess Marika first set foot. So this is very clearly telling us that this is a place that has existed. It's not like a construct in Miquella's mind or anything like that. This bit I find interesting, right? It was to this land that Miquella departed. So that very clearly is saying to me that Miquella's whole like quest or whatever you want to call it, where he embedded himself in the Halig tree, was for this purpose, right? So, and this part here where it says where the goddess Marika first set foot is very interesting. So I guess it's implying that maybe you reach this place through the Erdtree somehow, and Miquella was attempting to emulate that with his Halig tree, and was maybe successful. Well, I guess inevitably successful, right? But maybe, I mean, I have to assume something must have gone wrong because he was torn from the Halig tree by Moog. So I'm not too sure about that. And we have here a land purged in an unsung battle, set ablaze by Mesmer's flame. So, like we saw before, we have this whole area is very clearly like afflicted with war. You can see all of like the strewn weapons everywhere, and like, you know, there's a lot of turmoil very clearly. But this confirms that this is an area, this is a land that has its own conflicts and most likely its own people, and all of that sort of stuff. Set ablaze by Mesmer's flame is particularly interesting though. So it seems like, I think we read on the trailer that his full title is Mesmer the Conqueror, right? Oh, sorry, no, Mesmer the Impaler. Which makes me think of Vlad the Impaler. I don't really know if there's a connection there. There might be. But this implies to me that Mesmer sort of conquered this land and is now its ruler, based on the fact that he's like sitting on like a throne structure or something like that. So there's something here, for sure. And then it says, it was to this land that Miquella departed, divesting himself of his flesh, his strength, his lineage, of all things golden. So in order to reach this place, Miquella, I guess, abandons his golden lineage, so his relationship to Marika and to the Erdtree, and I guess also his status as an Empyrean. He's just relinquishing all of that. And now Miquella awaits the return of his promised lord. This line is very interesting. So, his promised lord is a very interesting descriptor. Because who could that be, right? Like, the only person who comes to mind for me is Godwyn, which would maybe make sense considering like the relationship with death that we've seen throughout the trailer. But Lord makes me think, like, is he waiting for the Elden Lord, or, you know, something like that? Which would maybe imply that he's actually waiting for us, the player, right? But it's strange. I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, we get a little bit more here. Players step into the Land of Shadow to explore a new adventure full of mysteries and danger, to confront threatening bosses with new weapons and armor, follow in the footsteps of Miquella, and unravel the dark side of the Elden Ring story. So this part especially is making me think of that bit of promotional art that we got, where it's Miquella riding on Torrent towards the, I guess what we now know is the shadow of the, like, quite literally the shadow of the Erdtree. It's like a shadowy form of it. And unravel the dark side of the Elden Ring story. So this suggests to me that this is not a tangential story that is going on the side, and is in fact a much more closely linked to the original narrative of the game, and is like a second half that is going to expand on some of the existing concepts, which is very interesting. And I think that's kind of all of the important stuff here. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to very quickly cover this, and I'll probably stick this on at the end. But yeah, very, very cool stuff. I'm so excited for this expansion. It's going to be great. All right, guys, see you for real this time. Bye.